Welcome back to Classic Firearms. This is the Tokarev TAR-12 in a nickel or tsunami nickel finish if you read the listing specifically, and it's an AR-15 style shotgun that's semi-automatic. So let's dive into the quirks and features of this firearm. $10, you tell me in the comments below what reference YouTuber that is. This right up here, we have a 18.5 inch barrel that is nickel coated just like the receiver up top and the magazine down below. I do appreciate the contrast they were going with. So everything you see in silver here, this is metal or aluminum. Everything you see in black, that's polymer or rubber in the grips case and the buttstocks case here. So kind of a nice finish, very nice contrast, overall aesthetically pleasing for a firearm, especially being in right around a $300 mark firearm. That can go up or down depending on what decade you're watching this video in. So with that being said, up top, they're also going to give you a flip up and front and rear sights. So what's really cool about these sights, let me show you something. Now, this is something you're not going to be able to see and is extremely difficult to get with the camera angle. So I'm going to explain it to the best of my ability. The front sight and the rear sight, or the front sight and the rear sight here, whenever they're folded down, there's a notch on the front sight and there is a little cutout on the rear sight. So technically speaking, you can actually use these when folded down as sights. However, good luck being able to see with your cheek. You're not going to be able to, it's flat. So being able to see them, it'll be a little bit difficult. But that's not the only nice thing. When you flip them up, obviously you have the whole sight that you can see. So you have a hole back here and a post up front. But if you look on top of the hole, there's a little notch on top of the whole rear sight. So on that circle, instead of making a circle, it comes in and makes a little notch, because if you don't want to look through the hole, you raise your eye line up just a little bit, and you can now use that top of that sight as an even more accurate sight. So hole, and then you can move up, and now I can see a little bit more accurately. So it's actually kind of a cool little design that they have going there. With that being said, the rear sights, they flip up and they go down. They're cool, and they have a bunch of features that are actually hidden that I bet you most people don't talk about. So moving on, up front on the left side, we do have a more traditional style sling mount, as you can see right here. So if you want to put a sling on your shotgun, you absolutely can. Also on that left side, you have your bolt release right up top here. Which works as expected, and again comes in that nickel kind of finish, which also does mean that it's metal, which is quite nice. Now, before I do anything else with the trigger, I've already disarmed this firearm. I know there's nothing in here, but I'm going to show you real quick that there is nothing in the chamber, there's nothing in the magazine, and clear it just so you know. But the safety is a 90-degree safety here. So as I take it off, say put it back on, you can see 90-degree switch, nice overall, and works as you would expect. The trigger is a little bit more of a hardy trigger, so you're right on that wall to begin with. So you start pulling to that wall, there's a little bit of movement. You're talking like a 6 to 7, maybe even an 8-pound trigger at most. It's a pretty hardy trigger, so you pull through it, and once it starts moving, it's gonna go. There's not much space for it to move. It breaks pretty quickly. There's very, very little take up on it. Initially, there's none, and then once you get past that wall just a little bit, it breaks very, very little into it. Now, the reset goes all the way out. Just kind of kicks your finger out and then bang once more. So overall, it's a good AR-15 style trigger, especially on a shotgun. It's exactly what you'd expect. It's easy to stage. It's easy to know when you're going to fire as well. Putting her back on safe and moving on. On the right side here, they do give you a push button AR style magazine release, which works exactly as you would expect. Moving on from that, you do get a single 5+1 round magazine in the box, and again, it does come in that tsunami nickel. Let me read it exactly. It's tsunami nickel marine finish to be exact. It does look nice. It feels nice. It's got a kind of a matte texturing to it, so if it comes across shiny on the camera, it's not. It's actually more of a matte finish. And then it just, because of the nature of the metal, the way that it's made, I suppose, it is just a little bit of a shine to it, but it's mostly matte finish. We do have a rubber style grip here. Now, what's nice about this, you got a moderate textured grip all around it and a finger groove. Now, the reason why that's nice, the grip itself being rubber, of course, being a 12 gauge shotgun, you're gonna have some recoil and you're not gonna feel it as much through the handle, so it does help mitigate some of that to your hand anyway. But it's also got that finger groove, so actually pulling it up and getting really on target really nice and easily, even if you're out at the range and you've got 100 rounds down, you're in the sun, outside with your friends, you're still going to be able to get a good grip on this, even with sweaty hands is the point. The stock on this thing is going to be quite long, so you have a nice long stock overall with a kind of that moon boot style rubber pad on the back. The rubber pad's going to help mitigate a lot of that 12 gauge recoil into your shoulder, especially for those newer shooters. You also, it doesn't come with it, but you can add on, you have the ability, the adapter to add on a cheek riser if that's something you want. Now, I am going to say, with this right here, and the sights that come in the box, you don't necessarily need a cheek riser. It's going to be right in line with your eye, right out of the box, which is nice. If you're putting an optic on this, you might want to start looking into a cheek riser just a little bit, especially if you have one also on a riser. But if it's a red dot that's close to the Picatinny, you won't need it. You'll be fine right out of the box. With that being said, if you have any experiences with the TAR-12 MP Tsunami Nickel Marine Finish Shotgun, please leave a review down below. We would love to see your comments. That is all I have for you today. God bless. Stay safe. It is time to end. Now, let's go have some fun.